In Chapter 2.3, Solving Systems of Linear Equations, we're going to cover 3 different types of word problems. When I went to school, I had such trouble writing these word problem equations. And then all of a sudden, someone showed me how to do it, and now I'm going to pass that procedure on to you. All right, this chapter is on solving systems of linear equations. So you know a system consists of 2 equations. So we're going to have to write 2 equations. Write the equations to solve the problem. Now they're not asking you to solve it. They're only asking you to show me what the 2 equations are. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to browse through the word problem. You're just going to read it briefly, skim it sort of, see what they're talking about. Get the lay of the land here. All right? A new amusement park opened. The admission fee for children is different for adults. I got children and adults. Okay. A group with 2 children and 3 adults pay $19, and a family with 4 children and 1 adult pay $13. Find the price of admission for a child and an adult. Well, basically what I got when I read this is there are children, there are adults, they're going to an amusement park, and they got to pay a fee. Okay, that's good. The second thing you have to do, which is really the most important piece of this whole thing, is you look at the question, and it's usually the last sentence in the word problem. And when you look and read this question, that's how you're going to set up your variables. So they're asking you to find the price of admission for a child and for an adult. So it's the price of admission for a child and the price of admission for an adult. Now remember, systems of equations, we have an x and a y value. So here we have a value for child of admission and a value for an adult for admission. So I'm going to go and I'm going to set up my variables. I'm going to say let C equal the child price of admission and A equal the adult price of admission. Now, why did I use C and A and not X and Y like I'm used to doing in equations? Because if I did X and Y and solve for them later on, at the end of the problem, how do I know which one stands for the child and which one stands for the adult? So this way I know right at the beginning, I'm going to set up that C is the child price of admission and A is the adult price of admission, exactly what the question is asking me. Now the third and the last thing in this procedure that you have to do is now you go back and slowly and be picky, write down what every single piece of information they give you in that word problem. All right, a new amusement park opened. The admission fee for children is different from that of adults. Okay, they're not giving me any particular information here. A group with 2 children and 3 adults pay $19. So right away I've got a full sentence there. I have a group with 2 children and 3 adults, and they're going to pay $19. So the information given, I have 2 children, 3 adults paying $19. The next sentence, a family with 4 children and 1 adult pay $13. 4 children, 1 adult pay $13. Now notice each one of these here is one sentence. Now we're going to be asked to find the price of admission for the child and an adult, the C and the A. So I take the very first line. Now notice there are 2 lines. 2 equations, right? Okay. So I take the very first line, 2 children, 3 adults. So I have 2 children. That means 2C. 3 adults is 3A. And when you add them together, they pay $19. And you've got your first equation. Now we're going to do the same with the second. We have 4 children, so that's 4C, 1 adult, 1A, and they add together and pay $13. And you are done, and you have your 2 equations written. Now the second word problem. We're going to solve this using the same procedure as we did the previous word problem. Now remember, we're going to write down two equations, systems. We're going to write the equations to solve the problem, and we're only going to write the equations. We're not going to solve. So here we go. We're going to browse through now, just get some of the basic idea of what we're talking about. On a certain day, 331 children and adults entered an amusement park, and the admission fees collected totaled $934. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? We still got children, we have adults, they're at an amusement park. Okay, the admission fee is $1.50 for children and $4 for adults. And how many children and how many adults were admitted? So, overall, I have children, I have adults, they're going to this amusement park, and they're telling me what the fees are and how many were admitted. Fine. Now remember, the second step is the most important. We're going to write what our variables stand for, and we look at the question, how many children and how many adults were admitted? So I'm actually looking for how many children and how many adults. So I'm going to let C equals how many children and A equal how many adults. And now the last thing I have to do, my third step, is I'm going to go back and really zero in on that word problem and write down all the specifics they tell me. So here we go. On a certain day, there are 331 children and adults who entered the amusement park. So I have 331 children and adults went to the amusement park. The admission fee collected totaled $934. So I have their total fee collected is $934. I'm just writing the basic facts. The admission fee is $1.50 for children and $4 for the adult. So child fee is $1.50, $4 for an adult. How many children and how many adults were admitted? Now, let's go ahead and actually write each equation. I have a total children and adults equal 331. Total means, all right, add the children, add the adults. They got to be 331 altogether. So there you go. C plus A equals 331. How many? 331. Now, the total fee collected is $934, and each child paid $1.50, and each adult paid $4. So I don't know how many there were, but if I had, say, 3 children, I'd multiply that by the $1.50. So I have C how many children, so it's C times the $1.50 plus $4 for the adult, and total collected was $934, and you have written your 2 equations, and you are done. All right, our third and last word problem. So again, we're doing systems of linear equations. We're going to have to write 2 equations, and again, do not solve. So here we go. First step, just browse on through, see what they're talking about. Jane took a biology test and quiz last month. What? No admission fee? No going to the park? Oh, Jane is taking a biology test and a quiz. Wow. She answered 10 questions correctly on the test and 1 question correctly on the quiz. She earned a total of 52 points. Marco, oh, we've got Marco. He took the same test and quiz. He answered 12 questions on the test and 5 questions on the quiz correctly. He earned 70 points. How much was each question worth on the test, and how much was each question worth on the quiz? So what did we get for this? We got a Jane, we have Marco, they took tests and quizzes, and they answered them correctly. Good. So now we have the idea of what we're discussing. The big question, step 2, is how much was each question worth on the quiz, and how much was each question worth on the test? So those are going to be our variables. So we're going to say let T for test, for T equals the test questions worth, and Q the quiz questions worth. Remember, the question is how much was each question worth on the test and how much was each question worth on the quiz. And those are our variables. That's what most people have the trouble with. Now, the last and third step, we're going to go into that word problem and write down every piece of information they give us so we can then write our equation. So here we go with that. Jane, we have Jane. She took a biology test and quiz last month. All right? She answered 10 questions correctly on the test and 1 question correctly on the quiz. So let's write that down. What we have is Jane. She took a biology test and quiz, and she answered 10 questions on the test and 1 question on the quiz. And together she earned a total of 52 points. Now, Marco took the same test and quiz, so we're going to write Marco. He answered 12 questions on the test and 5 questions on the quiz correctly. I'm just going ahead reading it and writing it down what they're telling me. He earned a total of 70 points. Now you see how you have groupings here. Jane with tests and quizzes and Marco with tests and quizzes. Question is, how much was each question worth on the test and how much was each question worth on the quiz? Fine. Let's write our equations. The first equation is we have 10 test questions, 1 quiz question. So we have 10 questions on the test. 10 questions, if each one is worth maybe 5 points, that would be 50. You take how many questions and times how much they're worth. So we have 10 for the test and 1 for the quiz. And together, she got 52 points. Now, for Marco, he's got 12 test questions correct and 5 quiz questions correct, and he got a total of 70 points. And you have your 2 equations, and you are done, done, done. This is the end of this video.